Today on Ask BRStv, we're answering BS Reef's question from Instagram: is there anything covering that bare bottom glass? Hi there, Randy again with today's Ask BRStv question coming from BS Reef over on Instagram, who was wondering what we're using to protect the bottom of our Red Sea Reefer 750 XXL tank that we're using for the BRS WWC hybrid system. Here's the short and sweet answer, BS Reef. We're using 1/8 inch textured ABS board from a local plastics and acrylic supplier, cut to fit the center overflow, and silicone to the bottom of the tank to keep it in place and to keep detritus from getting underneath. That's right, we are going bare bottom on this BRS WWC tank, but for many of the same reasons that fellow reefers with SPS dominant tanks choose to do for their systems, with the main reason being that we can really crank up that flow without worrying about having the sand being blown all over the place. Another main reason for going bare bottom, which is probably why it's my personal top choice for a stick heavy tank, is the amount of maintenance saved by not having to maintain the sand bed. With the bottom free of sand and my flow kicked up, I can easily keep the majority of waste and to try to suspend it in the water column and out to the overflows for the filtration in the sump to remove. And the stuff that doesn't get worked down into the sump is conveniently piled up into spots that I can easily suck out during a water change. We opted for the 1/8 inch textured ABS board for a couple of reasons. One is for the protection of the bottom glass pane overall, which may be a debatable topic on whether there's a real concern or not, but personally I'd rather not test that theory in my own home with my tank's inhabitants and my floors as test subjects. You know, on top of that, the ABS board is super thin, it looks clean, and I think a much better initial look for a bare bottom tank than just glass alone. And since it's textured, it also seems to provide encrusting corals and coralline algae a better place to get a foothold. Finally, this stuff is relatively cheap and pretty easy to find. We get our sheets from a nearby plastics and acrylic supplier, which we found through a quick internet search of our local area, and for a 4x8 sheet costs less than 40 bucks. Before I let you go, here's some quick tips that we use for adding ABS board to our tanks. Cutting the board is a breeze, but you'll need to pick up a plastic or acrylic cutting tool that typically runs for about 5 to 10 bucks. Now all you need to do is measure your tank and account for any overflow if necessary. Use the cutting tool lightly on the first couple passes to score the ABS. Start adding pressure to cut into the board, and then clean the blade after each pass to keep a clean cut. You could cut completely through if you'd like, but really once you have some deep scores in the plastic, you can simply snap it off. If you have an overflow to notch out, we found it easiest to cut completely through the sides, then do the score and snap approach to knock the notch out. One last tip, we use aquarium grade silicone to hold the ABS to the bottom glass, which can help to keep detritus from accumulating underneath and from possibly curling up on the outer edges on longer tanks. One thing I noticed between adding ABS to the standard 60-gallon cube tanks in Ryan's office that have siliconed edges versus any one of the Red Sea tanks, like the 750 XL or this Max S 400 behind me, Red Sea has super clean square edges that make it extremely easy to line up the ABS board with to create that utmost clean look, whereas the standard tank with silicone edges we had a hard time laying down evenly because the silicone beads may be hit or miss on thickness. So with those type of seams, you may want to cut the ABS a little shorter than glass to glass to make sure you get an even and clean look that sits flush on the bottom. Thanks for watching, and thank you, BS Reef, for the great question. Keep them coming. For everyone else, if you have a photo-based question or just want to share your awesome tank with us in the BRStv community on Instagram, snap a pic with the hashtag AskBRStv, or even better, follow that hashtag and see what the rest of the reefing community on Instagram are doing with their tanks. Check out that link in the lower left or in the description to see what the Ask BRStv IG community is doing, and we'll see you next time on Ask BRStv.